Welcome to the CPR My Career Recruiting Floor. Hi, my name is John Schrupp, and today I will continue the conversation discussing the second of the three largest problems when it comes to the modern day career search. As I outlined in the previous session, uh, it's very difficult to really identify what the biggest problems are with the modern day job search, in that we're not aware of so many things in the background that may be dramatically affecting our success or our ability to actually get any action going with our job search. And one key point that I discussed earlier was, first of all, identifying enough of the open job market. We have so many challenges around that. First of all, there's thousands of job boards. Which job boards are the right job boards to go to? That's a huge problem. Secondly, there's a huge hidden job market. It's been estimated that approximately 80% of all companies don't use job boards. And so, do we really have a marketing strategy to get in front of those companies that don't use job boards? How do we go about even approaching that? I mean, there's thousands of companies that don't use job boards. What am I supposed to do to find out if there's an opportunity there for me to pursue? And the third major issue is the fact that so many companies today now aren't even advertising jobs on their own website. So they're not using a job board. They're not even posting jobs on their own website. What they're using is LinkedIn or other forms of software to find candidates directly online. And, you may have zero online presence when it comes to you and your profession. So that's a major problem as well. So huge issue there, huge hole in the modern day job search when you can't when you're only identifying maybe 3% of the open job market to actually pursue. So, and we discussed those problems in the previous video, and we will be presenting many solutions for all this. All this will come together. So just have confidence that we will pull this all together and give you a process that addresses all of this. But now I'm going to delve into what I believe is the second major issue. And this is a huge issue. And the fact is, nobody is reading your resume. Nobody is reading your resume. Now, inception to date, we've worked with close to 100,000 people. Almost everyone I personally have spoken with over many years, uh, when I dig down into the detail of what's going on with someone's active job search, inevitably I'll ask, are you just applying to every job that you see, or you just really blasting yourself out there? And if it's even remotely close, you're getting that resume out, playing that volume game. And in fact, in the recruiting industry or in the job search industry, in the years past, you used to be able to buy resume blasting services that would say they would blast your resume out to 1,000 different jobs or companies in the next 7 days or next 30 days, and depending on the volume would determine the cost. And years ago I used to say, I guess that's not a bad thing, might as well do that. But now when I ask the question, are you just getting your resume out to anyone you can, or are you being very particular on what you're applying to? Most people, 99 out of 100 people today will tell me, John, I only apply to jobs in which I'm highly qualified for, which I think is the best way to pursue this. I think that makes the most sense. You're not wasting your time, my time, their time, anyone's time. You're being really precise. And I'm talking to, on a daily basis, mid-level to upper level managers of Fortune 100 to Fortune 500 companies. I'm really sharp individuals have been at the top of their game for decades, and they really know what they're talking about. They really sound like they know what they're talking about. They really have a lot of things going for them. But when I dig into a job search, inevitably I don't hear anything all too exciting. I'll ask, well, given your job search and your focus and only applying to jobs that you're highly qualified for, how many jobs, excuse me, have you applied to? And for example, let's say someone tells me they've applied to 100 positions. I'll ask, well, and with the 100 positions that you believe you're highly qualified for, what percentage of those applications has led to a live conversation with a real human being at an actual hiring company? And you don't get to count external recruiting firms. They don't count. And I'm always blown away at the answer. And this answer has been the same for 4 years now. It's somewhere around 3 to 5%. So what you're telling me is that you've applied to 100 positions of which you believe you're highly qualified for, and that's led to conversations with 3 people. Clearly, there's something major flawed with this process. Well, the fact is, the job search industry has changed dramatically. You need to be covering more of the open job market, and you're battling an applicant tracking system. Your resume is never being seen by anyone ever. Let's dig into applicant tracking systems. What are they? Well, an applicant tracking system strictly is a software program that filters out your resume based on what they find or don't find within your resume. Now, we found an article that was published in the Wall Street Journal several years ago. It talks about applicant tracking systems, and to date, it's still the best article I've found that really discusses this issue. And it starts off with saying when a Fortune 500 company posts a job online, they'll get thousands of resumes, many thousands of resumes. And it goes on to say here, now to cut through the clutter, many large and mid-sized companies have turned to applicant tracking systems to search resumes for the right skills and experience. And these systems can cost them the millions of dollars. Today, they're much more affordable today. Everyone has access to them. The article goes on to say every one of the Fortune 500 companies are using these systems, and today, everybody uses these systems. When I look at our 400 plus recruiting partners, all of them are using some form of an applicant tracking system. When I look at companies that we're tied to directly through direct recruiting contracts, they're all using these systems as well. Now, with that, this gentleman believes that at many large companies, the tracking systems screen out about half of all resumes. Well, today, these systems are screening out about 95% of all resumes, and here's why. Let's take a look at some real life numbers. Starbucks, for example, they attracted 7.6 million job applicants over the past 12 months. It's a huge number. What about this Procter & Gamble? They got nearly a million applications last year for just 2,000 new positions. A million. Well, I guarantee you this. I guarantee you Procter & Gamble no longer accepts paper resumes. For the obvious reason, how many people would you have to hire to physically manage a million paper resumes? Just the ability to physically organize that mess would be taxing. I mean, they can't handle that or do it that way. Not a chance. In fact, well, they don't. They just like every other company out there, they require you to what? To apply online. Now, when you first start applying online, it's way better than what you had originally anticipated. I mean, you've read the news, you've heard the press, you're expecting the worst. You're worried about being outsourced overseas or outsourced to technology or outsourced to someone much younger and brighter and cheaper and harder working than you are. And boy, there's a lot of stress, but you finally get your resume done. You get yourself to a point where you say good enough, fair enough representation of who I am as a professional. You run out and you go to all the job boards and you run a search, and inevitably one of them is going to come back and say something like this: 17 new opportunities found within a 30-mile radius of your house in the last 24 hours. And you're blown away by that. You're thinking, are you kidding me? First of all, you might not believe it, but then you start clicking through and you see all the company names and you're going, well, wow, this is phenomenal. You might even get mad at yourself saying, I should have started looking a couple of years ago. What was I thinking? This is awesome. There's all kinds of opportunities. How did I miss out on this? Now, I call this the false hope of the job board, because reality would say if you took those numbers, I mean, 17 one day over a 30-day period, if all things are being equal, That's over 500 opportunities in the last month. Really? Is that reality? Is that really how big and open your marketplace is? Hmm. You must be in sales. No, I mean it's most likely not that big of a marketplace, and most likely you're being a little bit, in my opinion only, you're being a little bit misled by all of this. But you don't know any better, so you're motivated. You just got your resume done. You just got started on all this. And you see all these great opportunities. You're going for it. You're going to take all of today and the rest of the next day. You're going to apply to all 17 positions. It takes you a lot longer than you thought, and that's why it takes you 2 days to do it. But what's really intriguing is within 24 hours, 15 of the 17 companies have gotten back to you. Every time you get an email, you're just blown away. You're excited. You're fired up. And it's, a standardized email. Thank you for applying to XYZ Corporation. We have your resume and we'll be reviewing it shortly to determine whether or not you're a good fit for this position. If we believe you're a finalist, we'll be reaching back out to you in the next 30 days. Thanks again for applying to XYZ Corporation. You get that and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I like the fact that I got an email. I don't know if I like the fact they said 30 days. But the overwhelming trend here is exceptionally positive. 15 of the 17 companies are looking at me. You go home, you look your spouse in the eye and say, "Honey, don't worry about a thing. I got this. I got this handled. Things are looking not so bad here. I really made a ton of progress in the last couple of days, and you have. You've done a lot. And you can also, but then here's the problem. A day goes by, a week goes by, a month goes by, a quarter goes by. You never hear back from anyone ever. That's the problem. I'm not sure where you're at with your particular job search. You might be 2 hours into it, you might be a day into it, you might be a week. But if you're a month or two into it, you know what I'm talking about. You never hear back from anyone ever because of this incredible lack of response. The worst form of rejection is not hearing back on anything. Because at some point, you're thinking, I'm doing something wrong here. You're going to be forced to compromise your job search. So then you start looking at some of your options. Well, first, I'm going to start looking at maybe traveling a little further. Maybe that's it. Maybe consider relocating. At some point, you're going to have to cross that line of maybe you have to adjust your salary, lower your salary requirements. So that's the last thing you want to do because you've built up your standard of living over decades and you're comfortable and you're living a really nice lifestyle and you don't want that to change. What are you going to sell your house, sell your car, sell all your assets? Why you keep looking? Or are you just going to burn it through your retirement accounts? What's reality here? What's really going to happen? But do you really want to change your lifestyle? And finally come to the realization maybe you got to go in at a lower salary and work your way up the ladder again. And maybe you can take a lower salary because they have bonus amounts or maybe they have a better benefits package. So you try that. But do you really see this explosion in interviews when you make these material changes to your job search? Now you're going to willing to travel up to an hour and a half one way? Did you see more opportunities present themselves, more interviews? Now you're willing to relocate altogether, more opportunities? Lowered your salary by a third? Now you have 17 more interviews? No, you don't see any change. Finally, you're like, boy, this is tough. And you start to tap into your personal network, your professional network. You're running into dead ends there, and that's where you're running out of people to contact there. Your close connections, you realize the group is a lot smaller than you anticipated because you did lose touch with a lot of people you work with in the past. You did lose touch with a lot of friends that you've had in the past. So it is harder to go back to them. But anyway, you finally come across a job, you say to yourself, if I could do this job in my sleep, and if I can't get this job, I'll never get rehired. You applied that same day it was posted. You don't even hear back on that one. You figure you're first in line, you applied the exact same day. You don't even hear back on that one. I mean, you're probably avoiding friends and family because you don't want to have to answer that question again. So, how's the job search going? Oh, the elephant in the room. You don't even want to answer. What are you going to lie to your family or your friends? You don't want to, you know, You want to ignore that. You don't even want to be a part of that. It's a tough spot to get out of bed each and every day and stay motivated when you know deep down inside your process flat out doesn't work. Well, circling back to those auto reply emails that you receive from all these companies acknowledging receipt of your resume, I would argue that these emails are highly misleading because these companies don't have your resume. How do I know this? Well, think about it logically. Just as Procter and Gamble cannot physically manage a million paper resumes, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They also cannot physically manage a million electronic versions of your resume. You think they're sorting through a million Microsoft Word documents? No, couldn't be further from the truth. All that happens when you apply online is you populate a database somewhere in cyberspace, and that database is called an applicant tracking system. Now, back to the article, they used to be pretty basic in nature, but today's tracking systems are programmed to scan for keywords and former employers and years of experience in schools intended to identify candidates with likely interest. Then they rank the applicants, and those with low scores generally don't make it to the next round. They don't make it to the next round because they never get looked at. Now, we use applicant tracking systems every single day of our lives. And let me walk you through a quick example. Occasionally, we post jobs nationally, and the last time we did so, we received 700 resumes in 14 days. Now, that's a lot for us to handle. I'm not going to go through 700 resumes. I don't have a spare 200-300 hours to go through that, and I'm not sure how I keep that all organized. No, what I do is I log into my applicant tracking system software and I have the software figure out who I should be speaking to. I log in, I route myself to the original job description. Now, this was written by the employer in their corporate language, matching their corporate culture, and very specifically identifying their corporate needs. Underneath that job description are the 700 resumes. I don't start clicking on them. No, I run a search. I have the software go out, and the software will read every word and every phrase of every resume, compare all those words and phrases to the words and phrases within the job description. When the software finds a match, it assesses the importance of that match and applies a weighted average score, ultimately giving your resume and everybody else's resume a grand total score of how well it matched up to that job description very specifically. The software then re-ranks all the resumes from the best match to the worst match. And it does all of this work in under a minute's time. And it does an amazing job. Today it's using semantic search technology, which is the understanding of words and word associations, really similar to kind of what the Google search engine does. I'm sure it's more sophisticated than an applicant tracking system, but it's down the same path. And I tell you what, the software is amazing. Because after I had those 700 resumes re-ranked, then I started going through them. By the time I went through the top 25 resumes, I was done sourcing for the position. I had more than enough ultra highly qualified candidates to speak to that very clearly told me why they were a perfect fit for this job. I looked at 25 out of 700 resumes. 25 out of 700, that's 3.5% of all the resumes. Where are the remaining 96.5% of the resumes? Or better stated, where are the remaining 675 of the 700 resumes? They're still rotting away in that applicant tracking system, never ever to get looked at again. Because if I source for another job, I'm going to rerun the ad to get the freshest, latest resumes. I don't have to rely on those old resumes at all. The reason I go through that detailed example is for this. Think back to all the positions you've applied to. After the applicant tracking system tore into your resume, what spot in line did you hold? It's not first come, first serve anymore. So back to the question. You found that perfect job yesterday and you applied to it. Where are you at in line? Are you 30th in line? Are you 300th in line? Are you 3,000th in line? You're thinking 3,000th, yes. Companies are getting 3,000 resumes per position. Where are you at in line? Even if they get 300 resumes, where are you at? Are you in the top 5%? Here's what we know today. We know today that your resume needs to score at least an 85% match and oftentimes a 90% match before any real human being is actually going to read your resume. We also know that with our rolling average, we have a rolling average scoring system of all the applicants that we have coming to our door. And over the past 12 months, our rolling average of tens of thousands of resumes is around a 54% match. And these are people telling me that they only apply to jobs that are highly qualified for. Why such a disconnect? Well, a couple of reasons. You only have one resume covering, well, first of all, you have one 3-page resume that's covering 30 years of work history and experience. What's that? I mean, well, what it means is you left out most of the things you've ever accomplished because you can't boil into 3 pages all the things you've done. So you've had to make a decision as to what you're going to keep in the resume and what you're going to exclude. That's one problem. Now, the second problem is that you have one resume that you're using to address the differing corporate cultures, corporate languages, and corporate needs of all these different companies that you're applying to. You see, today the name of the game is not about how great you sound on your resume. And I'll tell you, you know, that's the way our entire marketplace has been focused for decades. Ask anybody, go through any outplacement service, go to any recruiter, go to any advice online. They're all dialed in on you. You have to create a great resume. Quantify why you're better than everyone else. Quantify your success stories. Dig deep and really figure out how to differentiate yourself from everyone else. Really dig into those projects and figure out what separates you from everyone else. And really, really, really develop this grand story of how you are the world's greatest CPA, the world's greatest project manager, the world's greatest salesman, or the world's greatest engineer. And you get that on paper, and you've got this glorious 3-page paper, and that's going to solve all the world's problems, and it's going to get you rehired. Well, reality is today, it's a matching process. It's not about how great you sound in your resume. It's all about how well you match up to their needs using their words. It's a matching process. You don't have a high level match, you're never, ever, ever going to get looked at, period. And we know that you need an 85% to a 90% match to get anywhere. The only way for you to get a high level match is you must fully rewrite your resume for every single job that you apply to, period. If you don't do that, you're never going to get looked at. That's right, a full rewrite of your resume for every single job you apply to. It's a matching process. With that rewrite, your resume needs to be readable, modern, and compelling with the seamless integration of keywords and phrases, not just a list of words at the bottom of your resume. This concludes our discussion on the second major problem of a modern day job search, the fact that nobody is reading your resume. Keep listening. We have a lot more information to cover. Thank you.